That's right. Today we're delving into one of the more bizarre romantic relationships in all of comics. The pairing of Wanda Maximoff and the Vision is unique not just because, well, Wanda married a robot, or should I say synthezoid, but also because the history of both characters is a little muddled. Case in point, many of you may probably be aware that in the 1940s, Marvel had a hero called the Human Torch. Obviously, this wasn't Johnny Storm, but rather was an android who assumed the identity of a police detective named Jim Hammond. What does that have to do with anything? Well,
the Vision was created by Ultron, a robot created by Avenger Hank Pym that gained sentience and declared war on all organic life. Ultron used the body of the Human Torch and transplanted the brain patterns of Simon Williams, an industrialist who was imbued with ionic power to become a villain-turned-hero known as Wonder Man. More on him later. The Vision was created to infiltrate the Avengers and destroy them from within, though he would also have a change of heart and turn on Ultron. It would then later be revealed that the Vision wasn't actually the android Human Torch, but rather a backup body that the Torch's creator Phineas Horton had built.
We'll touch a little bit more on Wanda's backstory and who is and isn't exactly her father a little bit later. For now, just know that she and the Vision slowly fell in love as they served together on the Avengers, though he often denied his initial feelings due to his artificial nature. The couple would eventually marry in Giant Size Avengers number 4, and while that issue is technically in this collection that we're covering today, I'm not going to touch on it too much because it's part of a grander story called the Celestial Madonna story arc. So, basically, here's what you need to know.
Avengers member Mantis found out that she was prophesied by a race of alien plants called the Kawati to be the mother of a being who would either save or destroy the universe. Mantis was abducted by a longtime Avengers foe, Kang the Conqueror, to bring about the latter portion of that prophecy, with Kang killing Mantis' longtime lover Swordsman along the way. The other Avengers would then receive unlikely assistance from sometimes foe Immortus, a parallel version of Kang the Conqueror who had turned to pacifism.
Can you tell why we're skipping over this one?
It was here where the Vision first learned of his origins as the Human Torch android, as he and Wanda were somehow redirected into the dark dimension of the Dread Dormammu. Dormammu took control of Wanda and attempted to destroy the Vision. However, aid came not only from Dormammu's power-hungry sister Umar, but also Wanda's magical mentor, Agatha Harkness.
It's been Agatha all along.
And that, kids, was your one and only WandaVision reference.
Wanda broke free from Dormammu's control, and upon reuniting with the Avengers and Immortus, the couple decided to get married in a double ceremony alongside Mantis and Swordsman, who had been resurrected as a Kawate human hybrid.
After a few more years on the Avengers, the Vision and Scarlet Witch elected to leave the team and try settling down in suburban New Jersey in order to live a normal life. Their first few months of trying to live that life are chronicled in a 4-issue miniseries that was released in 1982. That's what we're covering today. This is The Vision and the Scarlet Witch.
It's Halloween in Leona, New Jersey, and the trick-or-treaters have noticed their new neighbors. The Vision offers a little parlor tricks in lieu of candy as he's completely empty-pocketed, which suffices as the kids are impressed to have honest-to-goodness superheroes living in town. The happy couple return home to find 2 housewarming gifts. The first is Jarvis, the Avengers' butler, who has arrived to help the couple settle in and unpack. The other is a book that Captain America found in England. It turns out to be a spell book written in ancient Druidic runes that piques Wanda's interest.
Just ignore the fact that Druids never had a written language and that runes are Norse, not Celtic.
Vision helps Jarvis deal with the unpacking as Wanda continues to flip through the book, and the trick-or-treaters return to see more of the heroes. However, as they begin to reach the door, a strange energy begins to envelop the house, and it's then the kids begin turning into their own costumes. The now monsterized children attack Jarvis and Vision. The power that has possessed them desires Wanda for its own needs. Said power has now taken a physical form in front of the Scarlet Witch. He claims to be Samhain, the embodiment of Halloween.
Again, just ignore the fact that Samhain was technically a harvest festival whose traditions slowly morphed into what we now call Halloween and was never a deity.
Wanda does her best to ward off Samhain while Vision struggles with the kids, not wishing to harm them. He uses a couple of thermal blasts to unmask the jack-o'-lantern and the goblin. The ghost, however, proves a bit of a problem because of his intangibility. Finally, the two fight into the room with Wanda and Samhain, and it provides enough of a distraction for Wanda to throw the book into the fireplace, defeating Samhain forever. The children remember nothing as they are sent home, but the visitors keep coming. This one isn't hostile, though. Instead, it's Robert Frank, eager to talk with Wanda about her brother.
Robert Frank was a super speedy World War II hero known as the Wizard, who gained his powers from a transfusion of mongoose blood to treat a cobra bite. I mean, that makes sense, right? Anyway, after the war, Frank would settle down with Madeline Joyce, who was the heroine Miss America, and the two would have a son, Robert Frank Jr. Unfortunately, because both Robert and Madeline worked in the nuclear power industry, this somehow caused their son to become radioactive and begin absorbing and outputting massive amounts of radiation, eventually earning the monstrous name Nucleo. Robert Frank also believed himself to be the father of Wanda and Pietro Maximoff. However, this was later revealed to not be the case, and we'll get more into that later.
Robert needs help with Nucleo. He's convinced the courts to release Nucleo into his custody and wants the Inhumans to study and possibly cure him. Since Pietro is in Avalon with the Inhumans, Wanda is able to negotiate for Nucleo to be studied there. Even though Pietro points out that he and Wanda know that Robert Frank isn't really their father, she wants to help him out just because, well, he's been through a lot and he is the closest thing to actual family outside of each other that the two have. The group arrives at the facility where Nucleo is kept under observation. The doctors working there have managed to lower Nucleo's radioactive output thanks to a scientist named I.S. Bischoff. Bischoff even shows Frank the siphoning machine. Now, where exactly is that radiation going? It turns out it's going into a special attack suit that Bischoff uses on the heroes.
Yes, Professor Bischoff is in fact a longtime Captain America and wizard villain from World War II known as Abyssia. Abyssia is also responsible for Nucleo's condition because he is the one who had been slowly exposing both Robert Frank and Madeline Joyce to the massive amounts of radiation over the years.
Vision attempts to use his phasing powers to take out the attacker but loses an arm in the process. Wanda is then knocked out and Abyssia then begins absorbing Nucleo. The wizard tries to interject but he is brushed aside, suffering a fatal heart attack in the process. This sends Nucleo into enough of a rage that he gets the upper hand, allowing Wanda to destroy the siphoning machine with a hex bolt. This actually allows Nucleo's energy to be neutralized somehow, and he is now cured. Alas, though, the victory is bittersweet. Added to the problems is the fact the Vision is still missing an arm, so he's rushed to the hospital with the Avengers, including Wonder Man, soon appearing to comfort Wanda. The Doctor emerges and explains that the shock of losing an arm caused Vision to slip into a coma. Sadly, that's where the information stops, as no one at the hospital is really able to operate on a synthezoid. The Doctor has one theory that might work, an energy transfusion with Wonder Man. The transference machine is set up with Thor providing an extra jolt, and the Avengers exit not knowing that these proceedings have had an additional witness.
Yes, this is Eric Williams, brother of Simon Williams, aka Wonder Man. When Simon initially died, Eric went to Ultron to experiment on him and turned him into a villain known as the Grim Reaper, who could kill people via an energy scythe. However, when it turned out that Simon was actually in a dormant state and could be revived, Eric went into extreme denial and began to vow to kill Wonder Man, who he believed to be an imposter.
In his coma, the Vision begins reliving his past. He sees the body of the Human Torch android, and Ultron appears to order him to merge with it. The Vision loses control of his body as his severed arm suddenly begins reaching towards the torch. This comes to a stop when Simon's ionic energy allows the Vision to gain more control. However, in reality, this is when the Grim Reaper has joined the fray by chloroforming Wanda and crashing into the OR. The Doctor explains that disconnecting the machine will kill both the Vision and Wonder Man, but that's precisely what the Reaper wants. Simon is roughly aware of what's happening and uses the dreamscape to explain things to the Vision. The two merge and take down Ultron, allowing Vision to revive in the real world and face down the Grim Reaper as he severs the transference machine. It's too late though, as Wonder Man is also revived and he works with the Vision to take down the Grim Reaper. Still, the Vision is missing an arm, meaning that Wanda will now have to turn to Pietro and the Inhumans for help.
So, why exactly is Quicksilver with the Inhumans? Well, around this time, Quicksilver, Pietro Maximoff, had fallen in love with a woman named Crystal, who was part of the Inhuman royal family. Now, I could get into the stormier aspects of their relationship, but just know that around this point they had married and had a daughter named Luna.
While Wanda and Vision prepare to head to Avalon, a cloaked figure makes his way through a snowstorm on Wundagore Mountain. He comes across a cabin which is home to Bova, the genetically engineered bovine midwife of Wundagore. The man is looking for people from his past, in particular a woman who has just given birth to twins. Bova recalls such a woman named Magda Maximoff. Magda had arrived in labor and apparently ran away slightly after giving birth because she was afraid of the father of the twins locating them. The twins grew up and gained powers along the way. His suspicions confirmed, the man blasts away from the cabin and Bova has her ward Mordred fire off a warning spell for Wanda and Pietro. Unbeknownst to her, though, the cloaked man is using that spell to track the two. Meanwhile, Wanda and Vision arrive in Avalon, where the Vision's arm is soon repaired and Wanda gets a chance to hold her niece for the first time. However, the comfort is soon shattered as the cloaked figure arrives and throws up a force field to thwart any Inhuman attacks as he makes his way towards Pietro and Crystal's home. He then storms his way into the home, revealing himself to be none other than...
I am Magneto, master of magnet.
Yes, Magneto is in fact the father of Wanda and Pietro Maximoff. Or maybe not. Again, you may remember when I reviewed Ms. Marvel Volume 1, Marvel began to slowly distance themselves from the X-Men because they didn't own the movie rights. Well, that kind of got extended out to Wanda and Pietro, as well as it would be revealed that they were not Magneto's children. They were actually normal human-born children who were experimented on by a character called the High Evolutionary. I covered the High Evolutionary in my Warlock Masterworks review. However, since then, it appears that, especially since the Fox-Disney merger happened, that retcon has since been retconned back to the idea of Magneto being their father, as both Wanda and Pietro have been spotted on the island of Krakoa in the X-Men books recently. So, I have no idea.
Magneto explains that he's Wanda and Pietro's father, but Pietro is having none of it and charges at the mutant despot. Magneto seems to be up to a fight until he sees Luna. Eric Lynchard has lived through too much in life. The Holocaust, driving away his best friend Charles Xavier, the war on humanity. He even lost the Brotherhood of Mutants, including Wanda and Pietro, who were part of the group at one point. Now he's alone. He just doesn't want to be anymore. He just wants to be a grandfather.
Happy ending? Well, sort of. I mean, Magneto would go on to have a relationship with Wanda and Pietro, though it was very uneasy most of the time. I mean, if you recall my House of M review, you saw how that turned out. So, yeah, though he did go through a brief face turn here, where he would even go on to become the leader of the New Mutants at one point. So, it seemed like he was changing for the better here. Anyway, that concludes our look at The Vision and Scarlet Witch from 1982. How was it? Well, on the plus side, I do think the artwork is pretty decent throughout the whole run, and I think the characterization is pretty spot on. Unfortunately, the narrative itself is just really clunky. It's a 4-issue miniseries, but it really doesn't feel like a 4-issue story. Instead, we get a 1-issue story, a 2-issue story, and then another 1-issue story. And that just leaves the whole narrative just being all over the place, not really being solidified at all. I mean, especially something like the idea of Magneto being Wanda and Pietro's father, it feels like it should be a really big deal, and it's just done in the last 3 pages of the story. It's way too rushed. Like, this should have been a subplot running through the whole series up until that point. And even then, the Halloween story feels really tacked on, too. So, again, entering into this, Wanda and the Vision want to have a normal life, but we don't really see them trying to live that normal life. They're still getting thrust into superhero actions. So again, it just feels really uneven and clunky, and it really kind of bogs the whole thing down. And like I said, the Magneto parentage should really be deeper explored in this, and it really isn't. That's a big disappointment for me. I mean, this series isn't bad, not by a long shot, but it's not really huge either. In fact, you're probably better off just skipping ahead to the the Scarlet Witch and Vision Maxi series that came out a few years later, and that actually provided most of the basis for WandaVision. So for now, I'm going to give The Vision of the Scarlet Witch a C. Like I said, it's not terrible, but it's not really necessary reading either. And with that, let's see what we'll be doing next time on the Random Trade Review.
Remember, you can help support my channel at patreon.com/sleepytimeforcatproductions. There, you can request a trade to be put in the randomizer, aka the cardboard box. Also, remember, like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell.